Okay, I need you to imagine something with me for a second. You wake up one morning and you feel fine. Normal, maybe a little hungry. So you go get breakfast. You go about your day. But slowly, over weeks, something starts to change. You stop wanting to hang out with your friends. You lose interest in dating. In everything, actually. Your body starts reshaping itself. And then one day, you realize you're not taking care of yourself anymore. You're taking care of someone else's children. And the worst part, you don't even know it's happening. This is not a horror movie. This is Tuesday for a crab. Somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean right now, there are thousands of crabs living out this exact scenario, completely unaware that they've been hollowed out from the inside and turned into a living puppet. And the thing doing it to them, it's not a monster. It's not even a worm. It's a barnacle. A tiny, microscopic barnacle. And it might be the most successful body snatcher in the history of life on Earth. So before we get into the absolutely unhinged details of this thing's life, we need to talk about barnacles for a second. Because I know what you're thinking. Barnacle, those crusty little bumps on boat hulls and rocks, those things? Yeah, those things. Here's what's wild. Barnacles are actually crustaceans. They're more closely related to crabs and shrimp than they are to clams or mussels. We just don't think of them that way because most barnacles spend their whole adult life glued to a rock, filtering food from the water. They're basically the couch potatoes of the ocean. But then there's Sacculina. Sacculina looks like a barnacle for about 5 minutes of its life during the larval stage, and then it makes a choice, a very different choice. Instead of finding a rock, it finds a crab. And instead of attaching to the crab, it becomes the crab. I want you to think about what it would actually take, evolutionarily, to develop this strategy. Like at some point, some ancestor of Sacculina stumbled onto a crab, and instead of dying or bouncing off, something worked. And over millions of years, this organism refined that accidental moment into one of the most sophisticated parasitic takeovers in nature. We're talking about a creature that doesn't just live on a host. It reroutes the host's entire nervous system, rewrites its hormones, changes its physical body, and reprograms its behavior. And it does all of that without a brain. Sacculina has no brain. Let that sit there for a moment. Okay, so here's how this actually goes down. Walk with me. A female Sacculina larva is floating in the open ocean. Tiny, microscopic, and she's hunting, not for food, for a crab. Any crab will do, though she's got a preference for the green crab, Carcinus manus. She finds one. She lands on it and starts crawling. She's looking for the one spot on this crab's entire armored body where the shell is thin enough to break through. She finds the base of a hair, a tiny, almost invisible bristle on the crab's exoskeleton. And then she does something that, if you saw it under a microscope, would genuinely disturb you. She transforms. Her body reshapes itself into what scientists call a kintragon, essentially a living hypodermic needle. She injects her soft inner body, everything that actually is her, directly into the crab's bloodstream. Her shell falls off. She doesn't need it anymore. She's inside now. And the crab has no idea. Over the next few weeks, what used to be a barnacle larva starts growing. Not in a lump, not in one place, but spreading, like roots, like a fungus threading through soil. She sends tendrils into the crab's muscles, its organs, its nervous system. Scientists actually call these tendrils the interna, the internal root system of the parasite. She eventually reaches the crab's brain. And that's when things get really interesting. By the way, I keep saying she because the female Sacculina is the one who does all of this. The males, much simpler story. A male Sacculina larva just finds a female Sacculina already living on a crab, crawls inside her, and lives there permanently as basically a sperm factory. The males are just passengers. Passengers inside a parasite inside a crab. It's parasites all the way down. So she's in the brain now, and she starts secreting chemicals. Chemicals that hijack the crab's hormonal system. And here's where the unique twist of this whole story comes in. Something happens that has almost no parallel in the animal kingdom. If the crab is male, she changes his gender, not metaphorically, physically. The male crab's body starts to feminize. His abdomen widens and flattens, his reproductive organs atrophy. His body starts to look like a female crab's body. He starts producing female hormones. He even starts doing female mating dances. And this is the part that gets me every time, the Sacculina inflates a sac out through the crab's abdomen, right where a female crab would normally carry her eggs, and she fills it with her eggs, and the crab starts taking care of them. This male crab, who has been chemically castrated, physically feminized, neurologically rewired, is now standing on a rock, bobbing up and down, waving the water with his claw to oxygenate eggs that aren't his. He thinks they're his. He will protect them, nurture them, carry them until they hatch. And then those larvae will go find more crabs. Okay, here's where I want to flip this whole thing on its head. Because up until now, this sounds like a pure horror story, right? Parasite takes over victim, uses it, destroys it, evil organism doing evil things. But here's the question I couldn't stop thinking about when I went down this rabbit hole. Is Sacculina actually evil? And I know how that sounds, but stay with me. In ecology, we tend to look at parasites as villains, destroyers, but Sacculina infects up to 50% of crabs in some populations, half. And those infected crabs stop eating mussels. They stop competing for territory. They stop reproducing. They become, in a weird way, ecologically neutral. Scientists actually studied this and found that in coastal ecosystems where Sacculina is present, mussel populations recover. Other species thrive. The parasite, by essentially lobotomizing the top crustacean predator, creates space for everything else. It's not doing that intentionally. It's just surviving. But the side effect is a more balanced ecosystem, which raises a deeply uncomfortable question. What do we call a creature that destroys individual lives, but sustains the whole system? Here's the other thing that blew my mind. Remember the green crab, Sacculina's favorite host? It's one of the most destructive, invasive species on the planet. Green crabs have spread to North America, South Africa, Australia. They tear through seagrass beds, wipe out native shellfish, destabilize entire coastlines. Scientists have actually proposed using Sacculina as a biocontrol agent, basically releasing the parasite to sterilize invasive green crab populations and stop them from spreading. On one hand, genius, a parasite that naturally targets exactly the species you want to control. On the other hand, a body-snatching, gender-rewriting, mind-controlling barnacle that you release into an ecosystem you don't fully understand. What could possibly go wrong? They haven't done it yet, by the way. They're still debating it, which I think is the right call. So why does this matter? Like, beyond the fact that it's genuinely one of the weirdest things on Earth. Here's what I keep coming back to. Sacculina doesn't use venom. It doesn't use claws or teeth. It doesn't chase its prey or outrun anything. It wins by being invisible, by speaking the crab's own biological language, hormones, nerve signals, chemical cues, so fluently that the crab never even registers a threat. It doesn't fight the crab's immune system. It hides inside it, and it does all of this with no brain, no central nervous system, no planning or consciousness of any kind. It's just chemistry. Impossibly refined, millions of years in the making chemistry. And it works so well that in some bays and estuaries, literally every other crab you pick up has already been taken. I think about this a lot when I think about what success means in nature. We tend to measure success by size, speed, strength, lions, sharks, eagles, the big dramatic predators. But the most successful organisms on Earth are almost always the ones you can't see. Viruses, bacteria, fungi, parasites. Sacculina doesn't need to be the strongest thing in the ocean. It just needs to be smarter than the crab's immune system, just barely smarter. And across millions of generations, it got there. That's evolution. Not a plan, just relentless, patient iteration. And the result is a creature that turns its host into a zombie, changes its gender, makes it raise foreign children, and then disappears back into the ocean in a cloud of new larvae to do it all again. Nature is something else, man. So next time you're at the beach and you see a crab just kind of sitting there, not moving much, cradling something under its belly, maybe ask yourself, is that actually a crab? Or is it just a very convincing puppet? I genuinely cannot tell anymore. If you want to see something equally unhinged, there's another ocean creature called Phronima that does something similar, but physically hollows out its host and wears it like a suit to raise its babies inside. It's the animal that actually inspired the design of the creature in Alien. I'll put that one together soon. You do not want to miss it. Hit subscribe if you're new, drop a comment with what you'd want to see next, and I'll see you in the next one.